All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going on a quest to understand what logic really is. And here's the thing. For a lot of us, our whole idea of logic, well, it's just plain wrong. So let's start that journey.
Okay, so here's the plan for our journey. We're going to follow logic right from its very beginnings. Look at the tools it created, see how it dealt with its biggest challenges, and then land right in the modern day, where it's still evolving.
So, let's kick things off. What is this whole quest really about? I mean, if logic is our hero, what's its noble goal? What's the point of it all?
You know, this quote right here gets to the absolute heart of it. We have to completely reframe what we think logic is for. It's not about winning arguments, right? It's not a weapon you pull out in a debate. It's a scientific instrument. It's for discovering what's actually true.
And this really lays out that huge shift in thinking, doesn't it? We're moving away from just trying to be persuasive, trying to win points in a conversation. Instead, the real goal is to build a solid, reliable path to what is objectively true. It's about building certainty, not just scoring a victory.
Okay, so every epic quest needs some legendary tools, right? And logic's tools, well, they were forged by some of the absolute greatest minds in history. Let's go meet these master craftsmen.
And this journey, it spans millennia. We're going to start way back with Aristotle, then jump forward a couple thousand years to Leibniz, and finally land with Frege, who just completely changed the game. These three, they're the ones who really built the essential toolkit for this quest for truth.
So Aristotle, he gave us the very first scientific theory of proof. Think about that. With his system of syllogistics, he created a way to guarantee that if you start with true statements, your conclusion will also be true, no mistakes. It's like a truth-preserving engine.
Then along comes Leibniz with this really powerful idea for testing identity. He basically argued that the universe doesn't do perfect copy and pastes. If you have two things, and they have the exact same properties down to the last detail, then they're not two things, they're just one and the same.
And finally, we get to Frege, who takes this massive leap forward. He basically mathematized logic. He shifted the whole focus to studying the very structure of truth itself, turning logic into this rigorous, objective science of abstract rules. A total game changer.
All right, so how does this clean, precise system of logic even begin to deal with the messy, chaotic, unpredictable real world? Well, it has a secret weapon, and that weapon is abstraction. Abstraction is really just this mental process we use to turn chaos into order. You start with messy reality, right? The flood of information coming at you. Then you actively decide what matters and what doesn't. You ignore the irrelevant details. And from that, you build a clean, simplified model you can actually work with. And we've got a few different techniques for this. There's idealization, where you intentionally simplify reality to make it fit a nice, neat theory. There's identification, where you make a conscious choice to treat different things as the same for a specific purpose. And then there's indistinguishability, where you basically admit, hey, these two things are the same to me, because I literally can't tell them apart.
And this is just brilliant. This is how logic gets to be so precise. It doesn't pretend that error and uncertainty don't exist. No, it manages them, formally. This interval of abstraction builds that uncertainty right into the system from the start by defining an acceptable range for error. It's precision through honesty.
But, this quest wasn't all smooth sailing. Like any epic journey, logic eventually came face to face with some monsters. And the scary part? These were monsters born from its own powerful ideas.
Okay, get this. A barber shaves all the men in town who don't shave themselves. So the question is, who shaves the barber? If he shaves himself, well, he breaks the rule because he's only supposed to shave men who don't shave themselves. But if he doesn't shave himself, then he has to be shaved by the barber, which is him. It's a total paradox, known as Russell's paradox, and it threatened to bring the whole system crashing down.
And this is exactly why that little barber problem was so dangerous. In logic, there's this wild idea called the principle of explosion. It basically says that if you let even a single contradiction into your system, you can then prove anything at all. That the sky is purple, that cats are dogs, that 2 + 2 = 5. One little paradox could have made the entire quest for truth totally meaningless.
But here's the twist. These monsters, these paradoxes, they weren't failures. They were actually engines of evolution. Zeno's famous paradoxes forced us to completely rethink our basic ideas about space and infinity. Russell's paradox, our Barber problem, it exposed this deep, fatal flaw in how we define sets of things. And then Gödel came along and proved that some true statements can never be proven within their own system. Every crisis forced logic to get stronger, smarter, and more honest about its own limits.
So, faced with these massive challenges, logic didn't just break and give up. No, it evolved. It dramatically expanded its toolkit, moving from a simple black and white world into a world of full color.
That old, rigid world of classical logic where every single statement had to be either 100% true or 100% false, that started to give way to brand new systems. These non-classical logics, as they're called, were specifically designed to handle all the messy gray areas of life, stuff like uncertainty, contradictions, and just plain vagueness.
I mean, visually, the shift is like going from a simple coin toss, heads or tails, true or false, to a whole spectrum of possibilities. All of a sudden, a statement could be undecided, or unknown, or in some of these wild new systems, even both true and false at the same time.
And this gave us this incredible new set of tools. You've got intuitionism, which demands that for something to be true, you have to actually be able to build a proof for it. You can't just assume it. Then there are paraconsistent logics, which are amazing. They're designed to handle contradictions without the whole system blowing up. Perfect for messy real-world data. Three-valued logics add a third option, like unknown, for when you have incomplete information. And the logic of indiscernibilities is built from the ground up to handle the vagueness that just comes from the limits of measurement.
So, where does all this leave us? After this epic journey of discovery, crisis, and evolution, what's the big takeaway here?
This is it. This is the most important thing to get. Logic's quest is not over. It isn't some dusty, static set of ancient rules handed down from Aristotle. It is a living, breathing, dynamic science that is constantly adapting its tools in its ongoing search for truth.
And that leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending thought to chew on. If the very tools we use to discover and prove truth are themselves always changing, always evolving, then what does that say about the nature of truth itself? The quest, it seems, continues.